Hey, what's up, guys? This is the continuation of basically that the Tyranid Armies, or Tyranid Armies. Anyway, and today we're gonna look at Nidzilla. So it's gonna be like a two-part thing, sort of tactics, I guess you would say, and then I'm gonna show you a little bit just what I'm talking about on just a regular board, very generally. So basically, let's see here. What is what is Nidzilla? Nidzilla army is basically you have, I would say it's 6 or more monstrous creatures. Some people define it as 4, or I mean 5. I would say if you run 4 monstrous creatures, you're running some sort of like balanced army that I'll talk about later, with like leaning towards monstrous creatures. But definitely in a 1500 point game, if you have 5 or more monstrous creatures, I'd probably say that you're running a Nidzilla list. And there's basically you take minimum troop choices in the force organization chart. You take your 2, and then that's pretty much it. And then you deck out everything else with pretty much 2 hive tyrants, and then if you want to run all Nidzilla, then you just have Carnifexes. So you have elite Carnifexes, typically of the devil fex, which is the Twin Link Devour Enhanced Senses variety. And then you have a Sniper fex, maybe 2, and then maybe you have an Uber fex, but you have a Hive Tyrant, maybe a walking one, maybe. And almost everybody, if they're smart, they run a winged Hive Tyrant in almost every army, because it's pretty much the most BA, or I guess badass thing, if you guys don't know what that means. BA thing the Tyranids have in a single model, because it's just ridiculous. Anyway, so that's what they do. Pretty much what the idea is, the monstrous creatures have high toughness, so they basically create a wall of maybe 2, 3, something like that, and then they move it. And then you have your assaulting units, which are your troop choices, or your Ravengers, or the things that are like rending and hit hard, or the swarms, whatever you choose, behind it, as like sort of a moving wall. And then they keep the minimum, they use cover on the Carnifexes and the monstrous creatures to minimize fire on them, and then they concentrate fire on what's going to be the deadliest to them and take out points heavy. So it's really hard to beat, just because there's so many high toughness creatures with a good save, and they can do some serious damage. So but the key behind it is that it's like mobile, moving terrain, because they block line of sight. So the units that you really want to worry about are not so much those monstrous creatures, honestly. Hive Tyrant, a winged Hive Tyrant, yes, is a problem no matter what army he's running. He's basically a priority. But for like those Sniper fexes, or those devil fexes, they can be a problem. But you don't want to attack basically the Carnifexes that have toughness 7, regenerating, extended carapace, they have 5 wounds. You're not going to take that down. And if you really do waste all your shooting and take down that Carnifex, the rest of the Nidzilla army is going to take you down. So when playing a Nidzilla army, as a commander, you got to use the moving wall tactics, and you got to take out your priorities. And if they take out the one Carnifex that you're using as the big movable terrain, whatever, that's their problem, because I'm sure you're gonna have plenty more to kick his butt with. Anyway, if you run an army that's not fearless, pretty much, it's really hard to counter the Nidzilla variant with a Psychic Choir, which is 3 zones, so it throws with Psychic Scream, and that's like the base. You could have 2 Tyrants with Psychic Scream too. And if you get, because what it does is it's a multiplier effect, it lowers your leadership. So anytime you have to tech for leadership, so like if you lose combat and you roll away, you could be at -5. So even if you're a Space Marine, you take that commander that gives everyone on the battlefield leadership 10. You're still that unit, if it's within 18 inches, definitely was really rough, because you're at leadership 5 right now, and that's what makes it so devastating. They usually pair that close to like a Devour effects, a Devil effects. So when you have multiple wounds, or a Bulb Strangler hits, that's -1 for pinning. So that's where the army can, those armies can be really nasty, especially if like you're guard, or something where you're not fearless. The orcs, they just have huge mobs, so it doesn't really affect them too much. But other armies like can get really devastated by that nasty Psychic Choir Nidzilla list out there. If you want to take out a Nidzilla list, I would recommend taking something with a force weapon. As the rules are stated in the 4th edition right now, you pretty much, people debate over this, that it calls it instant death, but it says kills outright. So if you're taking rules as written, which is raw on the forums, RAW. Sorry guys, got cut off. My memory card died on me. Well, not died, it got full, because I had a whole bunch of other movies on it that I haven't taken off. Anyway, so force weapons work well because they can take out a multiple wound creature. If you have something that causes double wounds, helps a lot. Anything like that can really help taking down a Nidzilla. But remember, the things you want to worry about are what it's hiding behind it, because they actually do most of the punch. The other stuff is pretty much ranged. So getting Nidzillas in close combat is, if you can take it out, is awesome. Honestly, because those hidden power fists kill Carnifexes, because they're such, they strike pretty much at the same initiative, and so that's a way to really counter the Nidzilla lists, if you can get through the high toughness and everything. So there's pretty much like 3, the Nidzilla lists all consist of, a bunch of Carnifex, Sniper Fexes, Devil Fexes, Hive Tyrants, and just different variants. The Psychic Choir one's probably the one I think is the nastiest to play against. But they pretty much choose like minimum troop choices, which is usually tend to be either Gene Stealers, or Swarms, which are obviously our Ripper models, which are protection and basically soak up. There are a lot of wounds. There are cheat points for each wound. So those are pretty much the troop choices that they choose. They usually have Ravengers as their fast attack, so they can, high initiative, punch through a hole, strike first, kill everything in its kill zone with, its four attacks, rending, and so it doesn't get attacked. And then when it gets attack backed, it usually has support. So it's a quite surgical army. Another way to beat it is to be highly mobile. Tau armies tend to get outshot. I know that's hard to believe, but they really can be, by a Nidzilla list, because they usually have a flying tyrant they're worrying about, and then the Sniper Fexes, take down their skimmers, and tend to be problematic for Tau armies. But if you can make your Tau army pretty much a mobile army, pretty much all flying around with piranhas and everything, I'm sure you could probably, kick the butts off of a Nidzilla list. Just because you'd be able to fly around, flank them, do whatever you get behind that mobile wall and kill the assaulting units. And so that's a great way. Deep striking works really well. Deep striking Terminators, if you have them, for you Space Marine players or Chaos, getting behind that wall, and then basically you want to break that line that's advancing, the mobile line that's advancing towards you. And I mean, that's pretty much it. Eldar players that have like all the Wave Serpents and all the other stuff, they do really well against Nidzilla, even though it's a fun battle to watch, because it's like 2 different min-maxed, people say broken armies. I don't think it's a broken army, because you can take an army, but it's really hard to take a balanced army and beat a Nidzilla list, because it can take any balanced list, but you know, if you take like those min-max last plas armies for friendly games, you can definitely take down the Nidzilla Abyss. In tournament settings, they're very hard to deal with because you don't know what opponent you're going to face, but Nidzillas, you know, can pretty much face any opponent they want to, and still have a decent chance at winning it. So let's go on to the next part.